Hello, 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 and welcome back to A Little Birdie Told You. I'm your host, Kristen Knight.
And I'm your host, Kelly Knight.
And we are going to be talking about the signs that you are growing. And I don't mean growing physically, right? We don't mean growing physically. We mean growing mentally and growing spiritually and growing internally. Like, how do you know you're growing? How do you know you're maturing in life and evolving and transforming into this better person? And I think there's a lot of signs that encompass this. And there could be way more than what we're going to discuss today, but I want to discuss at least the majority or the primary ones that we notice when we're growing. What are some signs that you think reveal that someone's growing?
I would say like definitely change. I think everybody knows like just your change and maybe like your appearance or just the way that like you react to things. You know what I'm saying? Because I think when you mature and you know you're growing, the way that maybe you used to react to things used to be very like dramatic or just like you would sit there and like just like, you know what I'm saying? I don't really know what other words you could use for it, but you would just be like very immature about it, and you could just tell the way that you react to things are kind of just more like nonchalant and just calm with it, being like, okay, you know, things happen.
You learn to control your emotions. You're controlling how you react and controlling your emotions, and you understand that there is the ability to control. You don't always have to react to everything. No. I think a lot of us subconsciously react to everything because we think it deserves a reaction when sometimes it doesn't need a reaction anymore.
Yeah, I think when you know, like when you're mature enough to know, you're like, okay, not everything needs a reaction. You know what I'm saying? Because like even some people, if somebody's talking bad about you, if you're immature, you're like, oh, well, I want to show them this, I want to show them that. But if you're mature and you've actually grown, you're like, oh, okay, like, who cares?
Deserve a reaction.
Nobody, like, ignore it. Like, it doesn't need a reaction to it because that's what they want.
You start to learn to control your emotions and become a little less reactive to a lot of things. So if you notice, okay, I'm not reacting as much anymore. I don't feel like I have to react. Most likely you're starting to grow and transform into this more mature individual. And that doesn't happen at a certain age or anything.
No.
I think it depends on the experiences that you've gone through in life.
I think a lot, like I would say like definitely though, like pain. I mean, that could be with like just things in general, maybe losing friends or just being like bullied or something. A lot of like, everybody goes through it differently. Like, you know, some kids are like way younger and they've like gone through a lot of things more than other people, and then they're like super mature, or maybe even somebody's like super like way older and they're like super immature. You know what I'm saying? So age doesn't really define that. It really doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't define your experiences and how much you've grown in life. We're all going to grow at a different pace. And I think that ties into another sign of knowing that you've grown as a person or you're going through growth is not comparing your experiences to other people's experiences.
Yeah, because like I like to say, people know your name, but they don't know your story. And that is 100% true though, because it's like it's like judging a book by its cover, being like, oh, that person, like, you can just tell, like, they've got everything handed to them so easy. And just, like, you can just tell that, like, their life's so easy for them. Really, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't easy for them. Like, maybe it's easy now for them in life, but everybody has to work for where they are in life.
And when you've matured and you've grown as a person, you're not going to be one to judge other people's lives entirely and compare them to your own, because you're going to be content with your life.
Yeah.
That's something that you begin to notice as you've grown as you're growing, you're not comparing and you're more content. You're more content with the individual that you are in this moment and not going to compare to everyone else around you, because you're not seeking external validation. We're not seeking external validation anymore when we've grown. We don't need everyone to appreciate us or everyone to like us or admire us. We don't desire that anymore, as long as we're caring about ourselves and putting interest into ourselves and energy into ourselves. Now, we don't need anyone else to do that for us.
Yeah, because growing's like thinking like, oh yeah, all these people, I care what they think because their opinion matters. But actually being mature about it, you know that their opinion doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's what you feel about yourself, because if you don't love yourself, none of that is even going to fit in your head and be like, oh yeah, like that's actually what I feel about myself, just because that's what other people are saying.
You start to understand that the currency that matters is the currency and the amount you invest in yourself. That's true currency to you. That's value, is valuing yourself and putting self-care. And you actually, as you grow, you designate time to self-care.
Yeah.
I've noticed as I've grown in life, I definitely take a lot more time to invest in myself than invest in other people and how they might feel about me. Because it doesn't truly matter how other people feel about you if you don't truly appreciate yourself in that moment. You have to appreciate yourself to appreciate the moments in your life and value the moments in your life and respect those moments. You're not going to do that if you don't care about yourself. You have to care about yourself. And when you're beginning to grow or you have grown, you do care about yourself. You're going to prioritize self-care, self-love. That's important to you. That's what you value. You don't value external validation anymore because you know the depth of validation comes from the depth of yourself. That's who can validate you. That's who has the right to validate you now is yourself, no one else. External validation doesn't matter.
I would say another thing too is like, you know, some people are like, oh, that person's like not hanging out with like a lot of people or just like, they're just taking a lot of time for themselves. And a lot of people think that's like a negative thing or just like socially not accepted for somebody just to be like alone all the time. To be honest, like if somebody's hanging out with themselves, you know that they're working on themselves. You know that they actually value themselves enough to be like, you know what? I'm going to put all my energy into myself and only put energy into the people that I actually know, like actually care about, like hanging out with me.
Being alone, I think, is definitely one of the top tier
Of like confidence,
growing.
though.
Yeah, and growing in confidence and investing in yourself. And it's definitely an identification for growth is being alone. I think you notice people who are alone definitely are more self-aware and more secure in themselves because they're able to stand alone. They don't need other people to be around them or to be like on the surface level friendship. They don't need that anymore. They don't need surface level friendships. They actually value being alone because they know that's how they figure out who they are. And that's when they realize who they are and invest in themselves is being alone. And some people don't realize this at all until they're much older or later in life. Just because someone's 40 years old doesn't mean they've grown.
No.
It does mean they've transformed maybe, but it doesn't mean they're mature.
No.
You could be 20 and you're not mature. You could be 20 and you're more mature than a 40-year-old. It really doesn't matter how old you are and where this plays. As we were just saying, experiences teach you things. And some people might value being alone much more than other people.
Yeah.
And that's going to show growth. I don't think I can emphasize that more than I am right now, is that alone time shows maturity.
Yeah.
You value alone time so much more when you've grown as a person and transformed. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah. Like I'll be honest, like I used to be somebody that was like, oh my God, like I'm a very like social person. And I used to feel like I was like, oh yeah, like I couldn't go a day without talking to someone, you know what I'm saying? But like now in general, I value myself more to be like, you know what, I'd rather hang out with myself. Cause sometimes I notice like when I was like hanging out with other people, I'm like, dang, you know, I'd rather like not in a negative mean way, but I was like, I'd rather just be alone and just do my own thing and not have to care about somebody like talking bad about other people and stuff because it's just it does take a lot of energy and just like a lot of like it puts a lot of negative thoughts in your head when you're hanging out with someone like that and it's just like no.
And when you're alone, you establish self-respect.
And I would say another thing though too is hanging out by yourself. It's like you step back and it's like you see a whole different light like of just like all the people that you are around, you see the way that they actually truly act and you see their real side. Because when you step away from like your friends or whatever and you're just kind of like doing your own thing and you're like maybe hanging out by yourself, you actually see who values you as a person to be like, oh yeah, like where is she going? I want to hang out with her. You know what I'm saying? And if nobody cares, they're not going to say anything.
Exactly. And when we're not growing and we're staying stagnant, we're looking for external validation. So we don't care if they treat us badly.
No.
We don't care if they respect us. We just want to be seen with somebody so other people don't perceive us as somebody who's boring and lonely and not living a luxurious life in their eyes. But that doesn't matter.
I don't know who came up with the idea, oh, hanging out alone is like lonely or just like boring. I think sometimes I like have more fun hanging out by myself than with other people.
100%.
Like I'm a funny person. Like I don't care.
And you learn to establish boundaries with people.
Yeah.
You're not afraid to say no because you're like, well, I don't
You're
have
not
to
insecure
hang out
about
with you.
it.
I'm not insecure. I don't have to hang out with you. You don't respect me. I'll just spend time with myself because that's great too.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend time with you. And if I do, it's actually because I desire having time with you and spending time with you. But then like you said, you begin to realize, oh, who truly values my time that I'm giving them? You know, time's a gift. Am I going to give it to you or am I just going to put it back in myself? Do I need to give you this energy that I'm going to put into myself? Do I need to give you any energy? If anything, you start to begin to treasure that and value your own energy as you're growing because you realize the price of it. You realize how important it is. And you're not going to sit here and tolerate people that are going to treat you badly anymore. You're not going to put up with that. That's how you know you're starting to grow. And you're not afraid to say no. I think that's definitely a big highlight in this is learning to say no. I think a lot of us are afraid to say no because of the consequences. Are they going to reject us now? Are they going to perceive us a certain way? But when we learn to say no, it's because we want to say no. It's because we don't want to spend time with you, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. It's about me now. Not in a selfish, narcissistic way. And that's what a lot of people say is when you're alone or you say no, they say, oh, well, there's something wrong with them. They don't spend time with other people. Why don't they do that? Or why don't they, why aren't they normal? What is normal anyhow?
Yeah.
And first of all, or second of all, I should say, it doesn't matter what you guys think. It's about me. If I feel more inner peace when I'm alone, then that's great for me.
I think hanging out with fewer people, like it definitely honestly, it shows more maturity of being like, oh yeah, like I don't need validation from all of these people that I'm like hanging out with, even though you're not like their real friend or anything. You know what I'm saying? Or they're real friends, my bad. But like still, like hanging out, I'd rather like have like 4 people to hang out with than like 20 other people. You know what I'm saying? Because it shows who you value. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure like only like 2 out of those 20 people actually really care about hanging out with you.
Because you appreciate quality over quantity. Yeah. You start to value the quality of things, the quality of people that you're around. It's an investment. Am I going to invest my energy in people that are not going to provide me energy back? Or am I going to invest in people that disrespect me and don't care about me at all? They don't value me. They don't care about me. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you surround yourself with people who really do not care about you and you're just another individual around them, but you're not that individual that they actually truly care about.
Yeah, you're like a plus one.
You're like their plus one, their backup if they don't have anyone. I've talked a lot about this, is a lot of people only have you as that individual, like that side check, right? You're that person they go to when they don't have anybody else.
Yeah, or if like they need help with something.
Yeah, if they need help, they need advice, and they need a friend that they can't find anywhere else, but they rather hang out with somebody else rather than you. Or even relationships that can happen too, where you're talking to somebody and you notice they don't talk to you for a little bit, but then they always come back to you.
Yeah, like they say like a guy will only talk to you at night.
You're their spacer. You're their in-between when there's no one else. And if you find yourself in that position, even though this isn't showing growth, but this is going to promote growth in you, pull yourself away from these people.
Yeah.
That's how you also know you're growing, is you're not afraid to pull yourself away from these people.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, well, if they don't value it, somebody else will value me better.
If they won't, someone else will. We don't worry about that. No. We don't worry if we leave, if they leave, what's going to happen. We let people come in and out of our lives without this desperation to keep them in our lives.
Yeah.
We're not holding on to these people saying, please don't go. If you go, I don't know what's going to happen. We just let them go. We let them fly away. Go ahead, walk out that door. I'm not going to fight for you because you're making the decision voluntarily to leave my life. And if you don't want to be here, if you really wanted to be here, you would not even be putting yourself in this position right now. So if someone's going to do that, when you're growing, you don't really care anymore. You don't fight for them because you say, well, I'm going to allow someone to come in my life that actually wants to be here. You don't want to be here, so go ahead and leave. You start to realize that as you've grown too through experiences, maybe you've gone through breakups or people have left your life, and you start to understand really doesn't matter because I'll be secure here. You come back to that core pillar of yourself. That's why it's great to build yourself, because that's the one true person you can always count on, is the individual that you have inside of you. And that is being yourself, being secure in that pillar. Have principles, have values, have standards for yourself, because that's going to determine the people that come into your life and set expectations for people and set boundaries for yourself to protect yourself and showing that you value yourself to other people.
Yeah.
They're not going to disrespect you or even attempt to come into your life.
No.
If they know you're going to sense it and be like, yeah, out, you're done, go.
Yeah,
go ahead, leave. We smell the BS everywhere. Just please leave now, because they're not even going to want to attempt that now.
No.
Because they're going to know you're not going to put up with that stuff. You're not going to deal with that. Don't you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
And I think another thing to know that you're growing is you're somebody who's not afraid to do that anymore. You don't really have fear over people that are leaving and coming into your life or anything of that sort. You don't really fear it
because you don't need the validation. You don't feel like rejected.
And I think that's another step into growing, is rejection does lead you to redirection. I think you notice that, okay, if this isn't for me, something else is going to be in my path that's for me. I think that you don't really put any desperation. You're kind of unbothered by things. And you know that there's a purpose for you. And if that doesn't align with your purpose, then it's not really worth your time. And if it does reject you, maybe it's going to hurt. You're a human. You still have emotions, no matter if you've grown or you haven't grown. But you understand that if it's not for you, and you have an obstacle in your path and maybe it leads you somewhere else, you're not going to be desperate to go back. You're just going to allow things to align how they're supposed to align.
Like something I heard, it's like if you ask God for like flowers, don't be surprised if it rains. It's like if you ask for like better friends or just like, you know, like, I don't even know, little things like that. Don't be surprised if like people that are like not like, I wouldn't say like not the nicest people, like you just know they're not the right people to hang around with, come along before the right people come along. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it's like a stepping stone each time. You know what I'm saying? When you ask for something, you're not going to just get it right away. You have to work for it. Like God will give you everything that you need for it and he'll show you like signs or whatever. But like, it's not going to just happen like that.
You have to understand that preparation.
Yeah.
You have to be equipped with the right things to retrieve what you want.
Yeah.
You know, if you want confidence, you're going to be given moments where you feel highly unconfident about yourself because you're going to be given the opportunity to grow from that. Opportunities to seek confidence, to say, I don't want to feel this way, so I'm going to find ways to make myself feel more confident in myself. And you're going to become content with yourself. If you want to become content, you're going to be in predicaments where you feel completely not content at all. You're going to say, I don't feel content with the person I am. I'm seeking external validation. And that's a part of growing. At the end of the day, if you're saying, I want to grow, I want to become this person who is secure in themselves and they stand in this foundation and they have these beliefs and this self-respect, you can't just ask for it and it's going to appear like that. I'm not a genie, okay?
No.
Or I would give it to you. I really hope I could. But listen, you have to go through experiences and everyone's going to go through different experiences in life. That's a part of life. We're all going through this journey. We're all going to have different experiences in life and it's going to take us on different routes and it's not going to be the same. But the true beauty of it is though, is you can work through these experiences and they are going to allow you to grow so you can achieve that position of growth. And you can say, I have grown. I've grown from the person I was last year.
Yeah.
And I hope you can say that. I hope one day you can look back and say, wow, I've grown in the last 24 hours. And it's not going to be that simple. It's not going to be that fast. But you will be able to say one day, wow, a few months ago, I would have let anyone come into my life and just do whatever they want, disrespect me, treat me poorly. And now I don't care who comes in or who comes out, as long as they treat me with respect. And I won't tolerate people that disrespect me. I won't even allow them to come into my life. So I shouldn't say that you don't care who comes into your life. But I mean, you don't care if they exit your life or if they decide to come into your life, but they're going to treat you the way you want to be treated. You're going to start setting those boundaries and have those expectations for other people. And you're going to understand that you are growing. You're growing as a person. And there's no true perfection of growth. But these are the signs that you're beginning to grow and you're beginning to evolve and transform from the person that you once were.